Hey, today we talk about introvert baskets, how they don't serve breakfast in hell, spheres of influence, and welcome team. It's Holy Ramblings. Welcome to Holy Ramblings,
A podcast about the important
and often humorous
reality of living a Jesus-focused supernatural life.
Welcome back.
Hi, guys.
Oh, Lord.
Hi. It's me.
Are you the problem?
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone is doing well. Lent is just about over, so if you were giving up chocolate, or if you were giving up cheese, or if you were giving up not telling your friends and family about Holy Ramblings, good news! It's just about done with Lent, and we're rocking into Holy Week. So hopefully that is treating you well.
Yeah.
But yeah, please, as always, share this with as many people as you can share. Just because it's nice. It's the kind.
And, I think our recommendation with Holy Week is, stay on theme. Just listen to Holy Ramblings throughout the entire week.
All week.
Binge it, guys.
We should have optimized that at some point before, but
because we don't plan ahead. That's our MO. That's what we do.
Stick to brand.
Why bother with plans and stuff?
Exactly. And stuff. But yeah, what we're going to do, just a heads up, is we're going to take a little bit of time off in April, spend some time with our families. Who knew we would do that? But then we'll be back in May, no worries, and we will keep you posted as and when that's going to happen on our Instagram account. Check out Instagram, Holy Ramblings, at Holy Ramblings, as it were. And it is a great place to every now and then be reminded that we're going to do this. I wish I did more, and I'm not. I'm a grumpy old man when it comes to social media. I open up the app.
We'll stop there.
It's true, actually. But I open up the app and I yell people to get off my lawn. It's really all I got going for me.
You have a lawn? Wow.
I have a lawn. No, I don't actually.
I realized we didn't introduce ourselves, by the way. So those with short-term memory loss, let's pray for you, but let's also introduce ourselves again. I'm Jonty.
And I am Thomas. As always, we are always these two people. It is always us.
Amen.
Jonty has been in the worship pastoring industry for many a year and has recently decided to dabble in artificial...
Where are you going with that?
And he's also become a burlesque dancer. No,
well... I go by the name Penny Rose, see?
Hey, I've no judgment there.
So that name came too quick. That sounds like it could be
so
true.
fast. Like you were just like, I've thought about it. Right. I can imagine like notebooks just written with Penny Rose, just like how like junior high kids write out like if they were gonna get married, what their married name would be.
What are you writing? Don't look. Penny Rose doesn't want it.
Thomas Quicksound.
Sounds like a weird horror film.
Because when I was a teenager, it was far more normal for men to keep their names.
Keep them.
I'm an old man. Coming back to I'm a grumpy old man.
What are we doing with it? Yeah. Where are we going with that?
But I, Thomas, has been in ministry for 17 years, worked with teenagers, worked with adults who act like teenagers, then acted like a teenager while an adult. That actually really should be my Twitter handle. But yeah, so today we have an interesting topic to talk about.
Oh yeah, it's going to be we're looking to welcome you into this topic together.
Yeah, I think if you've ever been in a church, you might have an opinion on what we're talking about today. It doesn't take long to walk into a church and literally run into the very thing we are bringing up, front doors. No.
Cave troll.
A cave troll. Roll for initiative. So we're going to be talking about welcoming, like welcome teams, like that, the idea of what it means to be welcomed into a church.
It can make you feel bad for every time you haven't been on team because that's
volunteer.
Important.
No, but also like we've experienced rather unique and interesting moments.
Very much so.
Humans, but equally, it's just it's an important but weird thing. Because first off, just truth be told, no one is like fooled by the people standing by the front door are nice to them. Right? Like, no one's like, oh, wow, man, those people are random strangers and they were just so kind to me. You know, with the badge that says welcome. Like, I'm like, everyone knows that, like, that person's there specifically. Their job is specifically to be nice.
Right. It's taken, like, 4 minutes, and I already disagree with you.
It's only taken 4 minutes.
Well, look, I think, all right, for most of you that have been listening along, you know that we've moved. We moved from London to Somerset, which is
not Jonty and I. He wouldn't take me with.
Yeah, together. We're actually just opposite sides of a room. No, my family, my wife and children, and I.
My wife
and children. We moved to Somerset. I can't do it. It's just gone. It's gone.
No, I mean, I thought you were holding it surprisingly well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, so we moved to a place called Somerset in England. It's southwest England, is where a lot of apple cider is made. If you're from America, you wouldn't know, but apple cider is actually alcoholic and it's delicious. But you and I suddenly got a moment of pang of being like, but Americans don't like alcohol, and I was like, oh God. And I don't know why.
They also don't like England, really. I don't know what you're getting at.
Nah, fair play.
So the list should start somewhere else. No, that's not true. Americans love England, especially James Bond.
And then we moved down to the other side of the coast to a place called Devon, because we wanted to be a bit close to a city and a church that we felt more comfortable at. But one thing that's been interesting is moving around a lot. We haven't been able to go to many churches or anything, and we really appreciated one church we went to where there was someone on the door and they were just really friendly, and that really made a difference.
Okay, so I will semi-recant my statement. Here's what I'll recant.
Recant it, sir.
You appreciated the welcome. Nothing fooled you into thinking this was just a random person who was just hanging out near the door making friends. Right? Like, you knew this person was probably on team.
What? Yeah,
they were. And yet, and this is actually one of the points that I was hoping would make, and yet, knowing that this person is already volunteering to do a task, the fact that they are kind and see you still matters?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't lose its power because you're like, oh, but it's just, they're a volunteer.
No, it didn't lose its power at all.
And I think that is one of the things is a lot of people are like, I don't want to be on welcome team because it feels insincere. I'm like, it's not insincere. Like, no one's fooled by this. Like, no one thinks like, oh, what a nice stranger outside the church. But even though no one's fooled by this in that way, it still says something about the culture of a church that would be intentionally willing to make sure someone was on the door that represented the church in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the heart that the church has to welcome. Maybe it's, I've been to churches where like families are the whole welcome team because it's a very family orientated church. But it's nice. It is nice to see a representation of the church facing outwards.
I think that's, that's become more and more apparent and important. I think you don't notice it super much, super my much. Grammar. Super much. I don't think you notice it until you don't have it. Like that sort of expectation that that's the team you're going to hit. And we
oxygen.
Yeah.
I don't notice it until I.
That sounds like a youth group night.
There's probably like so many. Yeah, there's definitely a youth. I actually think I never named one Oxygen, but there's definitely been one named Oxygen.
I'm trying to think about the fun youth group names. It's like Oxygen.
It's like, don't have it until it's not there.
By H2 Jesus. Whoa.
Oh Lord.
You can use that one when you run a church.
I will keep that in my back pocket. Sorry. Actually, you notice when it's not there.
Right. So we started going to a church, and we know there's amazing potential there, and it seems like the sort of church which actually we really could grow to really, really love. But they're not very good with welcoming. Like, it's unfortunately it's that they don't have. If they have got a welcome team, I've never seen them, and we've been 7-8 times.
Well, you think you'd run into them at some point? Are you going in the wrong door? I went to a church today and I went in the complete wrong door. Like, I went in the office door, and the person looked at me and was, actually, you've been to this particular office. But the person was like, why didn't you use the front door? And I was like, clearly you need better signage.
Yeah. No, but we were at the right door. I think the idea is that their team that welcomes actually just does the cafe, but isn't actually very available. It's a very strange setup, and it's not and you realize how much you miss that when the moment there's no one actually there to welcome, what you have lots of friend groups, and no one's following suit of going, you know what, this is an important part of our church and who we are. And I think that's there'll be people who are listening and watching this that have kind of experienced that as well, and it's incredibly I was going to say, what's the opposite of disarming? Arming. Like, if you're already nervous going in, you stay nervous and you have your guard up because you've got no one giving you that friendly face of, hey.
And I think that all right, so me and you were at the same church for quite a while.
We were?
Yeah, together. And it was a church we both were really familiar with. And
not together. Not together. But
well, we had been there together.
No, we were technically, we were there together.
I'm very confused. Nonetheless, we were both at the same church for long enough that we had grown accustomed to the way we would have done things. And at some point, you just stopped noticing. And then both of us went to different churches. And I think one of the things that I realized then, but I also realized that I hadn't realized, that was a weird sentence, was we think coming into church is easy. And it's really not. Like, even as a Christian, going into a new church is like, I don't know where I'm supposed to sit. I don't know, like, where the main entrance is, like I joked about earlier. There's so many things actually entering a new place of worship, even if it's your faith, can it kind of like trigger anxiety. And without someone there to like point you in the right direction or to welcome you or to be like, hey, we're actually glad you're here, it can easily feel actually like you're an uninvited guest.
Completely. Because, people view their church as their family. And if you're now stepping into the family room, no one's saying hi, you feel unwelcomed and you feel like, should I be there? I mean, I was talking to my wife about this, it's kind of, she was saying it's kind of her worst nightmare. It's like going into, where else do you go into a room full of people once a week who you don't know, and they're kind of with the expectation that you should just make friends and start helping. Like those.
High school.
Right, but at least everyone else. It's like high school if you join a year later than everyone else, and
so like every school I've been to, that's not the point.
Yeah, basically halfway through the term. But yeah, it's a really interesting one because I think for us, like with said church, we can see obviously there's more, and so we will keep pursuing, because I think, ironically, it's actually a church of introverts who all are gonna take time to get to know, because they're not gonna step out straight away because they're terrified of doing that themselves.
So this is a note to every pastor that watches this, or every vicar: go out into the street and find you some extroverts.
Seriously. And then put them on welcome team.
I will say, though, that then freaks out the introverts. Because this is, so one of my stories about welcome was when I was in my early 20s, I took a little bit of time away from faith. I had a little kind of crisis of faith. But to be all honest, I was still like looking for Jesus in everything I was doing. So I actually went to a couple churches that just weren't the church I had always been to. And I so desperately wanted to just hide. I just was there. I'm like, I'm just here for Jesus. I don't want to make friends. Do not welcome me. You stay away from me. And I was like, so for me, welcome can also go both ways. Like, sometimes it's just way over eager welcome team. And actually, sometimes you need to just read the person, because
You know what? Like,
the extroverts will not read the introverts right.
you just came up with such a great idea. Like, if you run a church, or Thomas, when you do run a church,
If I run a church, thanks, brother. That's a lot of faith right there.
I said when you run a church, you dummy. Silly Billy Awards. You win the Silly Billy Awards.
So concerned.
Look, put a little sign up. Be like, go that side for an introvert, go that side for an extrovert. And then if you go past the introvert, you'll be like, hi. You're like, hi.
Did you see this thing on TikTok or Instagram? So there's a shop that basically has two baskets, and there's the white baskets, and the sign above the white baskets, the shopping like baskets, is like, use this if you would like assistance today, and if you would like someone to shop with you. And then the other ones are, use this if you would prefer to shop in peace and not be interrupted. And so it was really like, I was like, that's a great idea. So maybe that inadvertently came through.
I think that's
that might be a great idea, because there are some people who are like, I will love this place. And I do appreciate the smile and the warm welcome, but you really don't need to hover. Because that's going to turn me off, actually. That's going to intimidate me and give me social anxiety, where some people might be like, actually, I'm here to make a connection like that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You are welcome. So
I am welcomed. But I think one of the key ministries of the church, and I was saying this actually to my church's welcome team just recently, is welcome team. So the church I go to is an Anglo-Catholic church, which means that the clergy and those serving actually like walk in and process through and then go behind the altar. So you don't actually spend any time with them prior to the service. So for so many people, they might see the vicar up front, but their interaction with a human, their representation of the whole church, is not the clergy or the staff team, it's the welcome team. And so in a lot of ways, the welcome team is of the utmost importance, because if they are giving off the air that they're not really happy someone's there, or, they can't be bothered. And thankfully my welcome team's not like that. But if a welcome team was, then that's a lot of people's first experience. And actually you don't even get to learn if you like the vicar or not. Like, you're already to the point where you're like, why am I ostracized here in God's house?
yeah, I mean, yeah. No, I think it's interesting. So I didn't realize you were running a welcome team. I got kind of caught up on that. Sorry. My brain was like, what?
It's not all fabrics.
You never told me that.
I'm working with someone in running a welcome team. To be fair, they don't trust ordinands with everything.
Wise.
Yeah, seriously.
No,
I'm
very
for
church. What?
I came in, someone was already running it, and they very gracefully let me join them in leading it. Which actually is probably a whole different episode about what it means to be in ministry and share leadership and those types of things.
What it means to let Thomas lead.
What it means to get out of the way and let me do my thing.
Let me do my thing. I don't know why that's not. Edit that out.
No, I'm leaving that in, buddy.
Oh Lord.
Let's just
why
hope
did that song come to my head as well?
I don't know, but I guarantee there's going to be people who know exactly what song that is, and it's going to be their jam for the next week. And then there's going to be some people who are like, "Can I Shazam that? Is that Siri? What song is this?
Siri, what song is this? She." Funnest ever. Give me this before we move on, because this is all good stuff and important. But I do want to know, what is that like? Do you have any funny stories of being welcomed? I can go first while you think. One of my favorite welcomings ever was, we had this old lady on a welcome team, and bearing in mind I was the son of the vicar, I was there all the time, and I had two older brothers and a younger sister. And as I get there, she goes, "Hello, which one are you?" And I was just like, "You know me. You know me."
So much.
Hello. But yeah, that was probably my favorite welcoming ever.
I always loved, and this may be the wrong way around. So I apologize that I'm changing the parameters of your question. But when people would come to the church we used to work at, I'd been there for 11 years by the time I left. And I'd been in kind of senior leadership for half that time. So when someone would show up and I'd be like, "Oh, hi, are you new?" And they'd get upset with me. I'm like, "No, I go to this church all the time." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry." And they're like, "And who are you?" And I was like, "Yeah, see, you could have pulled it off if you knew who I was. But by not knowing who I was also implies that you haven't been here for a while."
I remember going and doing a worship. I was working as a worship pastor, not at Christchurch, at a different place. And sorry, just on this, just because it's a great little story. We went up and did our church weekend, and I was leading worship, and someone comes up to me and goes, "That's lovely. Do you just go around to each church and do their weekends as a job?" And I was like, I've been your worship pastor for a year. Like, what? Are you serious?
Was it someone you knew?
No. Okay. I'm the worship pastor from. I don't know everyone.
Like Cecil. I have no names in my. I don't know.
Claudia.
Thank you.
It wasn't actually. I don't know if there's a Claudia.
I honestly think that as a church, the mark of a healthy church is about how welcoming the whole service can be, not just at the beginning and not just at the end. I loved that we were a church when we and you were working there, that there was coffee sometimes like in the middle of the service.
That was great.
And the church would be so wrapped up in being with each other that actually it became challenging getting people to stop their conversations, whether it was with new people or old people. Like they were in an atmosphere that was by definition welcoming. And it was one of those things where you can't have an atmosphere of welcoming unless you are willing to share yourself, unless you are willing to actually like put in effort and energy to extend yourself and the kind of spiritual reality you carry into a space that is bigger than you. So many people just they look down, they're only there for themselves. And that's not the atmosphere that'll ever bring welcome. But so many people are going like, you know what? I'm overflowing with what Christ is doing. So I'm going to actually try to start sharing that with other people. And you know, what's the old saying? If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it. That's how the song goes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure. Clap your hands. Actually, to be fair, there are two versions. Just really quick on the side, there is if you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it,
because that's how I grew up. And I was like,
the American version is if you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
Two different versions.
Which I have to be honest. Here, you take this as a win. The British one makes more sense in context of the song.
Yeah,
because if you really want to show it, clap your hands. Like then the action makes sense. But if you're like, if you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your, like suddenly you're clapping and you're smiling. Like, I don't know what's going on. It's a hot mess.
Too much.
Nonetheless. But if you're living out the joy that the Lord has placed in you, and that's different than happiness, to be fair. But if you're living out that joy and you want to express it, then there will be a tangible expression of that. And if you're someone who's good at that, join welcome team. No, just be welcoming even if you're not on welcome team. Lo and behold. It says in Romans 15:7, it says, "Therefore welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you for the glory of God."
Amen.
I don't know if people realize that actually welcoming people into the church or their home or even their friend circle is an act of worship. Like, to the glory of God or for the glory of God implies that what you are doing is bringing glory to God. You are raising his name high by smiling at people. Come on, like that's way easier than trying to stay on tune while Jonty's singing.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I think it's interesting, though. One thing I'd be interested in differentiating is what's the difference between a catch-up with friends and welcoming? Because I think it's very easy to fall in and certainly for myself, where you go to church and you see the same friends, and you can it's very easy to fall into forgetting to welcome people and actually just go, this is my chance to catch up. So I'm intrigued to know what you think is the difference, or if there is a difference, or where's that, how does that work? What's that line?
I would say the differentiation is the idea of extending yourself. Because if you were just catching up with your friends, like, dude, me and you could talk like no one else is in the room with a whole room full of people, like the internet's listening. For us to catch up doesn't extend me almost at all. Like I could be perfectly focused on the fact that, hey, you're my mate, I want to catch up with you. So I'm not extending love, except for that brotherly love we share so closely. But I'm not extending like myself into that space. I'm not going out of my way to realize that I need to put someone else first and me second for this moment. And I think there's a space in welcome that actually that realization goes, hey, I'm actually comfortable here. And I appreciate that the other people might not be. And I'm going to extend myself into that space in order to make them comfortable. I'm going to submit myself and make them, like the Bible says, think more highly of others than you do yourself. In that space, I'm going to think more on what they need than what I need here. To create a space that they can walk into.
I think it's interesting because I think there is obviously, I think it's both and. Like there is, as in what I mean. Sorry, not. I love you what you were saying. I think it's both and in terms of talking to people you know and talking to strangers.
Yeah.
In Hebrews 13:2, yes, I'm bringing out a Bible verse. You're welcome. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. But I mean, I love that
song. Did you know that '90s song, "Entertaining
Which
Angels"?
one?
There's a song from the '90s by a band called Newsboys, called "Entertaining
Angels." Yeah, I
Angels.
knew Newsboys.
So there's a song called "Entertaining Angels." If you don't know it, you could go back and listen to the song Jonty was singing, and then you could go back and listen to the one I am talking about, and you could determine which one's better.
My favorite line from Newsboys is "In the nick of time, your perfect time." I just love that they put in "nick of time." I mean,
so
I don't remember any wrestling
fan for longer than you, because my favorite is if the toast is burning and Captain Crunch is waving farewell.
That's amazing. I would sing that. Well, they
think the song, by the way, a very random ramble aside, that song is called "They Don't Serve Breakfast in Hell," which may or may not be true. Actually,
we don't know. There's no theological context to that.
I can't imagine it's going to be good. That's all I know.
Did they do "It's the Song of the Redeemed"? That one, rising from the African plain. He lives in you.
Different ways of that.
Different Lion King songs. But I think it's interesting because I think I'm fascinated the balance between welcoming to other people and welcoming to friends. And I mean, as you say, I think offering yourself is such an important thing, because I think it's so easy to fall into that friend place where you have a catch up and you're not giving anything yourself. It's interesting because, again, when just doing
I'm not dissing catch ups, by the way.
No, I love catch ups, but it's an interesting place.
You wanted to
because you can catch up at any point.
I watched it.
I did some research before this. So 1 Peter 4 verse 9 says, offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. And I love that, because the context of that, right, was they were in the midst of persecution, and they're like, yeah, just stop grumbling about it. And then like,
whiners be whining.
Right, but we're there being like, yeah, but I talked to like people at work and I don't want to do it again, and that's like our persecution. I mean, like, I'm mentally persecuted by work, and I think it's an interesting one of being like, I love it, just being like, yeah, just stop grumbling, just no one wants to hear it, just welcome people.
Yeah, And I'm willing to be out here because I don't. I guess I do have a welcome team, but I don't think they're immediately listening right now. If you were on welcome team and you see a friend you haven't caught up with for a while, catch up with that friend at a different time. Like, understand your time and place. Please be a good friend. But like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to neglect what I've been called to for this morning. Like, I don't think that's a way to honor the Lord. And I don't know if that's being a great friend. That's like an opportunistic friend. So
Yeah, exactly.
like, oh, Jonte, I only talk to you when you're around each other because we're both here for Jesus.
Amen.
Yeah. But I want to encourage you, take this idea of welcome, that extending oneself, that being generous with your joy, take that idea outside of the church. Take that idea everywhere you go. You're at Sainsbury's and there's like a person who has like one thing right behind you in the queue. Let them go first. What is that like? Like, what does it mean to extend oneself, to be an example for the unto the glory of God in the way we love one another and welcome one another into just being around us? Because the truth is, we all carry a spiritual space around us that is our area of influence, and what if you're going to come this close to me, I'm going to have you encounter the God I love. And I think that's something we can all do. We can welcome to my sphere of influence. You can just wear a little welcome badge. Welcome to me.
Welcome to my sphere. It's very warm in here.
Oh, on that.
I mean, if you welcome someone that way, by the way, if you're you go first, then you go, welcome to my sphere. I mean, that you are going to be the one that is actually going first.
I guarantee will be memorable. On that note, as we're wrapping up, Jonty McSexyface, will you pray for us tonight?
Of course I will. Yeah, Lord, thank you that we get to be welcoming, Lord, that we get to welcome people into our spheres, and we get to love people and show them the goodness of God through our actions, which is in turn worship to your name. Jesus, we just bless every person listening with ideas and thoughts, and that you would just move them, Father, to love and to show love to those around through welcome. And Jesus, we bless each other, we bless your name, we bless every person listening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're taking a little break for April, but we will be back in May. Keep an eye on our Instagram account. Feel free to share and like and comment and do all the interactive things on any place that you find Holy Ramblings. And yeah, we will miss you. But hopefully you have a wonderful Easter and have a great Holy Week. And welcome people.
You what? You say button people.
And welcome people.
That makes more sense.
Bienvenidos.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
See you everyone later.
Amen. Bye. Ciao, ciao.